welcome back to day 5 of us reviewing wonderful, amazing, super duper cute, super duper pretty awards websites. Today is going to be an awesome video because today we're going to be talking about 6, not just 4, not just 2, not just 1, 6 different awesome awards websites of the day, which are just super duper cool to watch and just take your whole design skills to a completely different level. Nishant says hi. Hello Nishant, welcome. Let's just start with our very first site of the day. So the first site that we're looking at today, let me just share my screen really quickly. And the first site that we're talking about today, again, all of these are super cool sites, awesome stuff, especially if you're a UI designer. It's just so awesome to be able to see all of these wonderful, amazing sites all over the world. Again, from the moment I've started looking at all of these sites, it's just taken my UI design skills, my attention to a whole different level. So the first site that we're talking about hello, so sorry about that guys, my voice wasn't coming. Let's just jump back into our UI designs for the day, which are right away, and when you hover over it they stop moving, but otherwise they keep on working. This is again super fun stuff. This text effect, it's a very simple effect at its very core, but it just works so well. For example, when you hover over it, it just shifts above, and then the same exact text, same exact font size, same exact thing comes up. Again, I say this so often, if you've designed a good effect in UI design, make sure to use it like 8 different times on the same website. That not only gives it a sense of equal, serene, peaceful, unison themed vibe, but also it just works so well to make the site just look good together, if you get what I'm saying. And every single time now that there is a slider, they use the same exact font effect. So whenever you hover over something, the same exact font effect happens. The same font goes down and then a red version of it just slides up. Again, super cool stuff. This is the navigation bar to die for. Again, check this out you guys. This logo, let's just start breaking down this pieces by pieces, and this logo just sort of rotates around, becomes the best thing you've ever seen. And also all of these navigation icons, navigation options are using the exact same effect. We could build this effect in Figma at some point, or talk about programming this as well if you guys want to see that. But also, again, wonderful stuff, changes colors and just extremely awesome stuff. There's a logo, doesn't do much else, image slider in the background, super cool. Let's just start scrolling and we can start to see the different things that they have here. So again, these are simple image sliders, but using the same exact effect, and every single time you hover over something, you have this red dot to go along with as well. It basically hijacks your cursor. Let's just start with about. Again, starting from the beginning, same exact font effect, same exact font. I am such a huge fan of this font, just wonderful stuff overall. And now they're basically changing the fill of this text back to the background color or transparent, and adding a stroke here, which is also a UI design effect we talked about in the follow your cursor UI masterclass, which happened at 8 p.m. a couple of days ago. And it's just absolute fan of. Plenty of white space, breathing room, whatever you want to call it. Just amazing stuff. There's always room here to just sort of breathe around, even though the text is just sort of very busy and clumped up. And the only reason this site is lookable, this site provides some sort of relief from this mighty huge text and from this long and just filled up paragraph. So this is, again, super important stuff. Now when you start scrolling down, you actually start to see one of my favorite effects ever. Again, they're using the same exact font effect, and as soon as you start hovering over each of these options, this is when the true magic starts to happen. Just check it out, you guys. I am such a fan of this UI slider. We might build it someday, but it's just one of those things which you look at and it just works so perfectly. Again, these text, these font paragraphs sort of push up after a certain amount of time with a certain delay, which makes it worth the wait, absolutely worth the wait. And also all of these images, just perfect stuff. Just adding a border radius very simply, aligning it in one simple auto layout, and every single time you hover over it, the saturation goes up to 100% back again. So the only reason these images are black and white is because they don't have saturation anymore, and so the saturation is because they don't have again, the saturation now goes back up to what we wanted it to. Let's just keep on going with the next section. This is, again, the get in touch section, which every single time I see a bunch of pages here. This is a completely different website style to what we've seen up until now. We've seen many sites which have a one page sort of scheme where every single thing you need to see about the website is in one single long page. But this site is a little bit special because it has all of these sections, but they're in completely different pages, which is also a very nice way to put things forward. Not my favorite, but it still works. Like, from an implementation point of view, this does take a little bit more complexity, or you could just break stuff down, but that's a conversation for another day. This is, again, a very large font, fun font, and the only reason this works so well is because, or one of the reasons it works so well is because there's a ton of space here, there's a ton of space there, plenty of breathing room, plenty of space to sort of breathe around, not worry about this super huge text. And that's sort of one of the reasons this just works so well. Black, white and red are going to be the best color combo, one of the best color combos you're going to come across in the beginning of sort of just getting into the whole topic of one color UI designs, excluding black and white, of course. So black, white and red is just a great color combination from that point of view as well. These cards are just so awesome to look at. Again, fun stuff. When you hover over these images, they sort of squeeze up, get into your face. This text is also super duper awesome, super duper amazing. Every single time you hover over it, your cursor is hijacked, which is a super duper cool UI design effect as well. And also this just is once again, this is a very cool example of if you've made a component of UI design which looks good, just make sure to repeat it a couple of times. So this just keeps on going for a couple of cards. Again, plenty of breathing room. No matter what, they always give you a ton of breathing room. And one very important thing that they always take care of is the load more button, which means they basically always allow you, the user, to load more, and that helps with the monotony. Because sometimes when you look at the UI principle of every single time you've made something good, replicate it a bunch of times, it just gets boring after a while. Like, you can do it like 4, 5, 6 times, maybe 8 times if you're pushing it, but at some point this 6, 7, 8 number of cards just become boring and exhausting. So it's really nice to have a load more button where you can just load more only if you're interested in the text and it doesn't get boring for a really long time. Again, fun stuff. And the footer is fun as always. So this UI design basically relies on one really cool font feel and just goes to town with it. Super fun stuff. Let's just look at the last page. This is the contact page, and did you notice the page change transition? It's just swooshes in. It's just cool stuff. Again, I love it when sites use different weird Finally, we are audible. I hope we are. Let's just check it out.
Finally, we are audible. I hope
That's way too loud. Is this?
that's way too.
Does this work? I hope this is a good sound level. Just give me a moment.
I hope this is a good sound level. Just give me a moment.
This is way too close.
Way too close.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. This seems fine. Again, if there's an issue, just let me know if it's too loud or echoes too much.
Again, if there's an issue, just let me know. If it's too
All right, we'll figure this out later, definitely. So we were at a really cool site which we almost reached the end of. So let's just go to the next site that we've planned for today. You know what, let's just go to the next site because this does get boring after a little while. It's quite a repetitive site, if I'm being honest. The next site that we're looking at is called Stevia Please. It is a portfolio by a developer, which is just the best thing to look at because when it's different, it's actually a motion designer, so when it's different people in the industry, it's just always a cool feeling of seeing this happen. Check this out, you guys. Such a wonderful UI as soon as you get started. Bento grids, which we just absolutely are in love with, and also every single time you hover over something, it just gives you the best UI effects ever. And there's just this never ending. When you scroll over it, I believe me when I say this, you have to go to this site and just check this out because I cannot describe with words how cool this is just to scroll around, like how smooth this is. The level of smoothness here is just out of this world. So you have to check out Stevia Please, a creative soul with a twist. And as soon as you start to hover over it, you see this weird smudge painting effect, which isn't very obvious in the beginning, but it just gets so fun after a little while. Again, and the same exact effect continues in the other cards as well. And you have this Snapchat style bitmoji in your face as soon as you start hovering. So fun stuff. Let's just sort of start scrolling, and this is where again the same exact smudge effect keeps on happening with each card, which is something new, something I'm a fan of. Just looking at all of these new things that are happening, this is the smoothest, coolest slider in the whole world. We might build it out at some point, but more importantly, this is just super duper smooth. So you have to check it out, believe me when I say this. Also, this arrow sort of just has this weird, I don't know if it's visible anymore, this has a weird completion bar which gives it a certain amount of timing for each of these slides to stay, and then it just sends them away. So again, super duper cool stuff. Let's just take a look at one of these things. Check this out, you guys. What a fun way to introduce a video. Just the most amazing thing ever. And just a video playing right here. I don't think we have audio for this, but anyways, the most fun piece of website ever, because the smudge effect always continues, and you also have these two buttons which just work perfectly. So again, let's just go back to the site, but super cool effect. And I think the site is held together by two main factors. Number one, the color scheme is just on point. You'd expect a neon green to not work well with a neon pink, but they've made it work, which is awesome stuff. Like, hats off to you for that. And also like the smudge effect is just so new and so working together that I'm a fan of it. I'm just going to be honest. The smudge effect just works super duper well, and also the whole site it's just another different level of coolness. And also, did you check out this font? Like, I have to know what font this is now, because it's just so weird and not ordinary that the geek in me wants to know. The animation for loading up different screens is super duper fun, and also this chat effect, again, out of this world stuff. I'm not doing anything over here, and it still gives you a little bit of a description of who the designer is, what their skills are, where they've graduated from, and stuff like that. Again, super cool stuff. You would never expect this green to work this well with this purple and this just color scheme overall, but the level of effects they've added with your cursors and stuff, it just makes it work perfectly. Like, I'm just hovering over it and it just changes it into this super large oversized emoji, which I also did a very long time ago. It just is so reminiscent of the cool stuff we do as UI designers. We might build this out in Figma or also programming if you want to check it out, just plain web development stuff. This is an infinitely playing animation. We're just going to start breaking this page down because the layout honestly is quite cool. Number one, there is a very high reliance on bento grids, which I honestly support to a high degree. There isn't a lot of gap in these grids, which does bum me out a little because of how well the site is executed. Like, execution is super duper on point, but I'm going to cut you some slack there, because again, the whole site is judged at the end of the day by how you feel when you use it, and the level of smudge effect and all of these little micro interactions that they've added just make it a worth it experience. Again, development by Patrick Heng, amazing developer. Every single time you hover over it, it just changes it to this weird illustration, which is a super cool Easter egg. I don't know if you noticed that. And also, every single time you hover over one of these social links, it gives you this weird smoke effect. So all of these, at their very core, all of these boxes have this very cool smudged smoke effect, which is just there in your face. This looks like a chat box, and you can sort of add these Discord and Instagram like stickers to what you like, and this is just one of the coolest things ever because you can react as many times as you want, and it's just super duper fun to build even as a developer. We might do a tutorial if you guys want to see this, just us reacting to all of these messages and making a message box that basically introduces yourself. As soon as you reload the page, just type T if you want to see a tutorial on how to do this. You could just react to this super duper fun, and you can just react to this as many times as you want. Every single message has a different emoji for you to react to. Again, fun stuff. So many brownie points and so many Easter eggs inside of this website. It just works well together. Let's just go back to the main page of the site. Again, the loading animation completely on point, and now you can just start to check out all of these different projects that they've done. Let's just you can just explore one of these if you want. These projects don't immediately take you to these actual websites, which I don't even think they're a website developer. So yes, they're just a graphic designer. They're a graphic designer and art director and stuff like that. So obviously it wouldn't, like, it's just me in my developer mind expecting it to go. But these case studies are just so well done. It just is something you really need to take inspiration from as a UI UX designer, web developer as well. Again, following one of the biggest concepts of UI design ever, just make sure to add only a little bit of text in one single block. If they just polluted this block with a ton of text, it would have been difficult to read, or I wouldn't have bothered reading it all. But since they've made sure that only 2 or 3 lines of text is there, it just makes your whole experience much more relaxed, gives it a much higher chance of you focusing on the text that is inside of the screen. Again, font size between this and this is extremely different. A baby could tell you that it is different, which is very important, because you want there to be a level of typography hierarchy, which means you want there to be a level of difference in the text sizes, which just makes things easier for you to work with. This is an infinitely working image GIF, but it smudges when you hover over it. I need to know how this smudge effect works, and I'm just going to Google that after this stream ends, because this is just one of those super duper cool things that we absolutely love to see. Again, this is a marquee tag, hopefully, or it just is an infinitely playing animated text box which breaks the monotony of text with images. Again, big fan of the way they've sort of implemented this font also just skews in the middle. I believe these are two different fonts, and they use these fun effects every couple of alphabets just to keep things interesting. The fact that they have had the decency to make things interesting every single time it gets boring, not put a lot of text in one single position, is why this site works so well. Like, it just makes you forget the fact that there isn't a lot of gap in these grids, and maybe even it was intentional. Like, all of these weird quirks just become a part of this website if you've implemented it well, if you've gone through using two different fonts every couple of alphabets, see, check this out, every three alphabets they use a different font, every three alphabets they use a different font. So these are two different fonts, and they're basically alternating between them, knowing that using this font would become too boring and using only this font would become very hard to read. So again, the level of hard work that goes into getting this site right is on another level, and also they make sure eventually to give us a little bit of breathing room, which I do appreciate, especially on a white page. White space on white page just is thumbs up stuff, absolutely cool stuff, incredible if you ask me. Also, we have a really simple video, border radiuses, and the level of border radius is always maintained, always kept alive, which is just so fun to see. And again, you can just play this video if you want. The images, oftentimes when you have a video which is in a different aspect ratio, it's always nice to have this blurred image version and a couple of flying emojis here and there, which just elevates your UI design, even though it was supposedly boring. So if they hadn't done this or this, it would just have been one single video in the middle of a page, which is very boring. But now that they have they've always had the decency to make things interesting, keep things interesting for you, always to let the site be a complete game, which is just awesome level stuff. Again, this is another bento grid which basically shifts every single time you work with it. I believe this might be a video. This probably is, because I don't think you can control it with HTML. It is actually a video embed, but still cool stuff, absolutely cool stuff. Color knowledge just is on point, and also font sizing, font spacing knowledge just works so well, you guys. Check this out. I did not even know this section existed, and it's just 4 different illustrations, everything on point, especially compared to the background color here and background color here. There is so much that has gone into making not only these illustrations work, but also things in the background, things in the front, just working together so well. Again, they're reusing this really good component that they had built using one single thin video and making sure it takes up the whole space. I'm pretty sure this is responsive as well. So again, super cool stuff, and it follows with the principle that if you made something that's extremely cool to look at, make sure to use this more than one time. It just gives you this sense of theme that nothing else will. And now again, they have this really similar pattern, one video of this particular blur peel, and then this light yellow off white box of just videos and texts as a whole. Let's just go back to where we were. I didn't think we were in here, and I just sort of came out. So again, super cool stuff. Again, they're just following along to that exact same pattern, one video, one text gallery, one video, one text gallery. I am disappointed at the fact that they've made spacing work in these bento grids, not equal spacing though, which bums me out if I'm being honest, but they've not added it in the beginning page, which might be a mistake, might not be, but it would just have worked better together, I believe, if they just added the spacing everywhere, because many times this happens, designers start to catch up to what's right and what looks good at the very end of the site, which means it also won't be applicable to every single user who walks by, because every single user who's walking sees this bento grid which has a spacing here for some reason, and it doesn't have a spacing here. This is honestly very disappointing if I'm being honest. Although if you started noticing patterns, these colorful bright boxes don't have any spacing between them, but these ones do. I don't know if there's some logic to that. You can just check this website out if you want to see more of the same stuff. Now just let me know what you rate this site out of 10. I think this is a solid 8, especially because there's just so many little things that could be fixed, and yet it's just so close to being the most perfect site ever. What do you guys think of this site? Just let me know really quickly. Just really quickly type out what you think of this out of 10 as a rating. Alright, so let's just go to the next site, which is Sugar Health. Super fun site, super cool stuff. Sugar.health is the site of the site that we're sort of reviewing now. Social media just got healthy. Again, a cool idea. Check out the animation that plays out as soon as you reload the screen. I'm going to reload the screen again. Let's just check this out. How fun is it that it just pops up in your face? Works super duper well. You can just scroll these, and it's just the best scroll bar ever. You could just see this whole slider working in itself. So many emojis, which I am an absolute fan of. You can see a couple of buttons, and they have a very simple exact same effect. So every single time you hover over it, a different colored a different background colored button takes over. I think I need to remove my face from the middle of the screen. Alright, we're back. Now we're talking about this. That was embarrassing. Let's just talk about Sugar.health. Fun site, super cool stuff. Again, right from the beginning, there's a really cool animation that plays out as soon as you start, and also a bunch of super cool images start playing, which is an amazing slider as far as sliders are concerned. I love that they've embraced the huge font size trend that goes on. Fun stuff, and also a ton of emojis. Completely on point, completely working. These buttons use the exact same effect that they did previously. Again, when you hover over it, it just pops up in your face, which is a fun effect for your buttons. Very in line with the topic of, if you know how to get one effect right, you just duplicate it a bunch of times. And again, you can use this slider, you can just check this site out. Super duper cool stuff, and it's just changes colors as soon as it gets boring, so it's just following along to that. It is quite refreshing to see these fonts just change sizes so often, so we're just going to have to stick with that. And just check this out, you guys. Beautiful background radius, great radial gradient in behind the image. Fun stuff. It just completes right here. And also these font sizes are extremely different. Also, when you select the text, the color just changes, which is very doable, by the way, with selection tags in HTML, but it's just so rare to see at this point that I'm honestly a little bit surprised that this is just working together. When you hover over this button, it just changes colors in the slightest way, which is also a cool effect. Cool effect. This background just works so well together, and it's just on point. And also, I think this is a completion slider of how much of the page you've completed. This is a relatively small site. I think it's still in beta waitlist, but again, from what I see right now, this is very cool as a site. And also, once again, for the 1000th time ever, we're noticing when you hover over one of these, it just switches over and completes the whole scroll bar. So it's a SVG fill effect for the text. Super duper cool stuff. And also check out these buttons, you guys. The same exact effect used every single time, but it gives your website a sense of unison that nothing else would. Making sure the logo is in the footer, again, one of those other things checked off of our checklist. And it's a relatively small site, but the slider in the beginning of this hero section just makes it so worth it. It's one of those hero sections you have to check out if you're thinking about building your own site. Super duper fun stuff. Let's just think about the next site. I think this is a solid 10 in my eyes, because I couldn't see anything wrong with it, and it just works so well. The next site we're looking at is called Your Majesty, yourmajesty.co. Let's just not com, yourmajesty.co. It's let's just let that load really quickly. I should start pinning these sites. Alright, and now we have this super cool site from a UI designer's perspective. Check this out. It just has this constantly scrolling scroller that keeps on going absolutely all the time, and also you can hover over it to sort of see an expanded sense of opacity and everything just works so perfectly. Right off the bat, it has this logo which sort of keeps on rotating every single time you're watching over it, which is just a nice effect to have in the very beginning. And also there's a slider that keeps on playing every single time you hover over one of these text or images. You not only get your cursor hijacked, which I am always going to be a fan of, but also you get this really nice font, which is fun. Usually what's different here is usually you see sans serif fonts, the fonts that look like these without any of these serifs, as the description text. But this time and everything, and you would basically see serif fonts in the tags and just the little spaces, but they've sort of reversed that, added sans serif fonts to buttons and all of these markers, and added serif fonts to basic text, which is definitely different, and also a fresh outlook on something we've been seeing for a really long time. Again, keeps on playing, also breaks the monotony of all of these different images with text, which is refreshing to watch. And also we've got two different buttons. Let's just check out the menu. Check this out, this is such a cool menu. When you hover over it, it just opens up into this beautiful animation, completely executed to perfection, and it just, when you hover over it just changes colors. Nothing complicated happening here, but it just still has this very elegant chic feel that works super duper perfectly. Again, text, and also there's a little bit of difference between these two font sizes, so you know what is more important as far as the site is concerned, and which section just is there to just be there, sort of like the legal and newsletter section. Just order of importance is very clearly distinguished by the difference in text sizes. And also you have this beautiful contact box. One thing that I'm noticing all the time here is they've made sure to add plenty of white space, border radiuses, which just makes the whole theme work together in a way that nothing else would, in a way that absolutely nothing else would. Spacing, plenty of spacing here, plenty of spacing there, just perfectly on a different level stuff. Again, let's just keep on going back to our next site. I think this is a solid 9, just because I am a little bit irked by the weird spacing issues that happen. I am still not sure if this isn't actually a spacing issue, because by the time the image comes in the center, it just plays out quite weirdly. But again, it's definitely, I get what they were trying to do, but the execution is a little bit off, in my opinion. Just a little bit off, like a couple of pixels off, sort of. The next site that we're talking about is betteroff.studio. It's called, spelled betteroff.studio. Again, it's so nice to find all of these domain names which have .studio, .dev at the background, and when you're also trying to show that this is your job, it's just one of those fun domain names that you find on the internet. Again, right off the bat, a different layout than what we're used to seeing. Plenty of white space that they've taken care of right off the bat, which just keeps things always interesting. There's a top logo, there's a navigation bar. As always, for the 1000th time, every single time you pick off an image from awwwards.com, you see one of these SVG line animation fills, which is always a fun thing to watch. We might build this out at some point. And also, this is also a button which I think it's a primary button. It could have been set apart with a difference in like font color and stuff, but honestly this isn't too disappointing either. And we also have text here. Font size is always kept very different, which I am an absolute fan of. The reason this says subscribe here is actually extremely interesting. This is basically call to action text which says subscribe, and it's just fun to watch. It just basically says subscribe, and it's just a different take on your main button. So people usually make title, description and a main button. They have changed that main button to a basic big subscribe here, and to break the monotony of only having text, they've added an image, which is a fun difference from what we usually see. But I love the fact that they've actually added a different kind of call to action right on their main screen. Ajay says, I want to make my portfolio like this one. Ajay, we could, if you're interested in that, let us know, and we could basically do Figma live streams, and at some point developer live streams which talk about breaking all of these effects down. This is a plain marquee tag, breaking things down right away. plain logo. Let's just start by breaking the logo down. Plain logo, a couple of different effects of navigation, which are basically just line svg fills. We might make this somehow, but I say this like so often. If you pull out 5 different sites from awwwards.com, sites of the day, 3 of those are going to have this line svg hover effect on them, and it's just the most common cliche thing ever at this point. Again, font size here and here is kept extremely different, and a ton of white space, breathing room, just helps you always look at this. And now when you start scrolling, this text scales up, which is a fun surprise. Again, a ton of space here, ton of space there, and they're always taking care that it's just easy to look at. Their site is completely easy to look at. I am a little bit irked by how it's boring size images here as well. Maybe they could have done that, but again, what to say. And this is again a description box which has a ton of white space, but also it could have used a couple of images. The site initially makes you like it by having an image here, but at the end of the day, is my voice coming? Someone's saying there's a is my voice always look at this. And now when you start scrolling, this text scales up, which is a fun surprise. Again, a ton of space here, ton of space there, and I hope my voice is fine. I hope my voice is fine now. I know it's echoing a little bit. Alright, so we can just directly jump back to what we're doing. Super duper sorry about that. I'm going to get the mic fixed up. Anyways, it would have been nice to see the monotony broken down with a couple of images. The site maybe at some point in the beginning tempts you with the chance of having images, but then again, images aren't used as nicely as they should be, so it's definitely something that makes you question the whole thing. Again, you could have added a couple of images here. I don't know if they went into a shortage of images or what happened, but why are there not more images? Like, where are your images? Like, you could have placed, see, check this out, your images just work at some places, but at some places you're just missing images. Maybe you're trying to add white space, but images are a part of websites, and not using them correctly would just irk designers or normal users too. Again, this is the best part of today's live stream. Not only this site, today's whole live stream, because this just does this super cool break apart word effect, which we might make at some point if you guys are interested in that. But again, super duper fun stuff, and it just scales up when you sort of start scaling the whole page up. Again, this is a really weird fun video which plays out while hijacking your cursor, which is a nice effect, amazing effect, super fun stuff. And again, check this out. I love the fact that the sites that we're reviewing today are embracing the huge font size trend, which I wanted to do on sites for a really long time, but in the beginning they didn't used to have these many sites. So it just, when you have one single site that just is just really weird, you just start questioning your sense as a designer. But social acceptance of design trends that we the designers have thought about a really long time ago also just makes you look at the fact and be happy of the fact that the current UI design market is also embracing the huge font size trend. I am a big fan of this trend, by the way. Love it. Ayushman says, hey, hello, welcome. Today we're reviewing super duper cool awards sites of the day. And again, check this out. This accordion is so well made. Again, it could have used an image, but maybe I'm just being nitpicky here. Such a well made site. Just check this out. Just text spacing everywhere. Maybe they could have added like a small image or two, something in the middle. This is on point, and the way this opens and closes, the way it collapses, plain text, and this is just an icon that opens and closes, SVG fill that just collapses. Super duper fun stuff. Again, you could just sort of open and close it, but this is quite well made. Maybe it could have used a couple of images in the middle somewhere, break the monotony of the text, because they did it in the beginning, but then they only break the monotony in the titles, which tempts you into thinking that there is going to be a lot of images in the middle, which is quite nice to see. But the titles didn't even need the breaking of monotony that much, so it's honestly disappointing that they're lacking heavily in images in the body text. So that's going to be my critique. This is a very simple slider which doesn't slide on its own. It just changes its text and its description and its data when you click on all of these different options. A very well made thing, and it just has a lot of white space, which I always appreciate. Again well made. Maybe having two different foot headers over here making this sticky was a mistake, because honestly they've clashed a bunch of times, and every single time these texts clash they give this negative exclusion filter feel, which is also quite bad to look at. Also, we have another really cool text, that's just the text title which is here, which has a image which gives you the feel for the final time that there's going to be more images in here. Again it gets boring after a while, because you have no images, you're not breaking the monotony ever. So much text, maybe white space balances that out a little bit, but by the time I reach the pricing section I'm already exhausted by the monotony of this site. So that's definitely something to think about. And again, they're using the same exact text effects again, which I never say no to. I think that's a really cool way to get these things to have a sense of theme. But now they're just using the same exact text effects over and over again until you reach the footer. And again, in the footer they're using the same exact. Why is every single site saving their best effects for the footer? Like, this changing image video wasn't even in the topmost footer, which is quite disappointing. It just had a single image. It's just freaks me out a little bit, because if you have all of these cool effects, why not use them? Even for the thumbnail of this video, I had to scroll really down below to find like these images, but they just save their best for the last, and it just irks me, because normal users ain't gonna wait that long, especially if the beginning of your site does not have images, is not promising. Why would you save this slideshow for such a long time and just wait? Ajay says, how much font types are better to use on a site like 2 or 3? I think 2 is a good place to start. I think you could use 3 if you're very advanced and you're knowing your fonts. Even on this site they're using only 2 fonts. This is one font, changing font sizes a couple of times, but one font, 2 fonts best. We've gone through the fonts in the last part of yesterday's 8 p.m. live stream, which you might want to check out. Just how to get fonts right and which are the best fonts if you're a beginner in UI design. 5 best fonts, the only fonts you would want to use, especially in the beginning. The next site that we're going to look at today is called Control. It's I believe the last site of the day, but it's just fun stuff. Control.xyz. This was definitely super surprising, so I had to sort of check it out today on stream. Let me know what you think of this one, because it has a lot of really cool intro animations which just blows your mind, especially in the beginning. So when you reload this page, once again you see this super duper cool intro effect play out, which is Alright, and we're back. Let's just get the audio down to a bearable amount. I hope this isn't too weird.
This is a really weird fun video which
I hope the font. Alright, this is fine. So sorry about that. The knife went away, which is embarrassing once again. Again, this is a very fun site right from the beginning. Super cool stuff to look at. Title here, and also simple navigation bar, simple buttons, using the same exact effect which we've seen a couple of times today. When you get over to the screen, it sort of gets up into this super duper cool button, which I am a fan of. When you hover over these buttons, they're sort of in this weird radial gradient rounded edge hover feel, which is, I will always be a fan of this effect. Again, this font size is very very different from this font size, which is a must in most UI designs, especially when you're trying to tell the user which fonts to take a look at right in the beginning. So the user automatically, even though this is after this text, the user automatically takes their focus in the center of the page, which I'm a fan of. Ton of empty space, white space here and here, which always provides breathing room. Best thing you could do to a site like this, which uses a ton of animation and basically just scares you in the beginning. When you start to scroll, it sort of just, this button just gets down and this remains sticky for a millisecond, which is quite nice to see. It's a different UI from the things we've seen until now. Again, when you start hovering, it just gets into this really really nice feel of beautiful video animation playing out, and then you start scrolling again, and this box always remains sticky. Only the content changes, text around it changes. Doesn't make, is my mic not working? I hope it is. This just sort of updates to change in our faces, which is always fun stuff to watch. Again, it came in as a really really dull blurred out thing, and it just went back up to a very very strong thing now, which is obviously awesome to see. I love the fact that they've done this effect working right here. Just the most fun thing ever. You could copy this. It just makes this box sticky, changes this text constantly, and brings up these three different sections, freezes them after you're done reading them, so you could just navigate through them really really easily as well. Again, super duper cool text chain playing out continuously. You could change your, add a couple of fonts, just maybe search for a couple of things. This text completely different font sizes, really really important if you want the user to first focus on this, then focus on this, then focus on this, then focus on this. So you're basically dictating where the user is going to look at next without actually providing a dictatorship rule, and that's the most mind-blowing stuff to me ever. They're always staying within their font scheme of yellow, pink, blue and grey, which is really really nice. Having to see sites which are good with colors is always nice. How cool is this font effect, and the fact that they're breaking this down with an SVG, with a GIF, with an image is just super duper cool to me. Again, a ton of space around all of the corners, a logo at the top, just fun stuff to look at. Super duper awesome as a button, super duper awesome as a navigation bar here as well. Just amazing button overall. And also we have this super duper cool card which follows the theory of, if you've made a really really cool card, make sure to like use it 5-8 different times on the same website, which gives it a sense of theme that nothing else ever will. Again, font size here and here extremely different, ton of white space, ton of breathing room, infinitely playing videos, which always top everything ever. Again, so many buttons, so many super duper cool cards, which just, not buttons, so many super cool cards which keep on playing. Yes, these animations are quite cool, and I think these are videos, but they play infinitely, which is actually quite nice if you have a decent animation working for you. Also, this is the next section, which is one of the best sections on this site. Also, it might be the best section on this stream. Did you notice the fact that they have this weird dot and text not only on this section's beginning but also right here? So this might be this series pattern kind of thing, which is just awesome as an effect to look at. Just fun stuff to watch. And also every single time they switch the section very bright, very minutely, they change the color of the background, which follows with our theme of, if your site is getting boring, make sure to switch the font color, even if just by a little bit. So they are always making sure this color and this color are remaining in the same theme. Very good color work by these people, but also switching up the colors every once in a while so stuff does not get boring. Again, this font size extremely different. So easy to see this first and then this. You cannot automatically see what the developers wanted us to see first. I love the way this animation, even though this is a video, it just plays out continuously, and I love the way that the way they followed these color schemes, not only on their website but also on their video. It is so easy for people who make websites to make the mistake of just getting this done by a different developer getting this done by, like, getting videos done by someone else, which is actually quite common, and also getting the site made by someone else, especially UI design, and not making sure they're using the same color scheme. If your video creator and your site developer are not using the same color scheme, it's really going to mess up your whole experience overall, because again, this adds a sense of unison that nothing else ever will. Same exact shade of black, perfectly working, truly well. And also you have this section which also switches colors really soon, and as soon as you start scrolling, it just sort of always scales down, which is fun to watch. I'm sort of scrolling downwards now, but it just keeps on going on in the left and right directions, which is fun to watch. Manny asks for a coin flip animation. We might make it in the future, especially on the 8 p.m. Figma streams in standard time, so do watch out for that. We will make it at some point. Ajay asks if I also develop sites. Yes, I develop sites, I design sites, UI UX designer and developer for an extremely long amount of time. Done some work commercially, done some work as a freelancer, also teaching here as well, and also just having fun with websites. So we're just reviewing these things from the point of view of a web developer, web designer, UI UX designer, and that sort of stuff. Again, one of the best things you're ever going to do as a scroll animation on a website is if you're trying to scroll down, but your actual site in its reality is scrolling to the left or right. That adds a level of cool animation which is just beyond anything else you will ever do. I love the fact that they've added a little bit of a button at the bottom. Maybe this is one of those talk to chat apps, which is also acceptable, completely fine. Again, you could use this, but if like they had a single button, it might work even better. Manny, I do have my own web agency at devfast.com, and we're just currently in the process of updating the site, so don't judge me too much. We might hire a couple of people who've done a really great job. In fact, we have a couple of web UI design competitions and stuff coming up. One of the things that basically planned right now is we'll design a complete e-learning game sort of SaaS which just combines the both of them, and we have a 3-day challenge, and every single person who follows along to the live series at the end gets to submit what they've made in their UI design form, gets to do their take on it. The people who've done the best job get rankings and stuff. So we might actually do that. This is an accordion of like frequently asked questions, super duper cool stuff. Nothing special goes on when you start to open these. They just sort of open up in your face smoothly, but they do just open up like that. Again, they've built a really cool, nice accordion element for us, and they're just replicating that a bunch of times, which is nice. If your initial element is just well made, it just gives your site a sense of unison that nothing else ever will. Again, we're just trying to scroll this down a bunch of times. You could look at all of these questions. This is a good option to add, because even though you've made a good section and you've used it like 8 different times, which is the exact number I said, I believe they've used it 10 times, which is also fine. And also we have a couple of other questions here as well, which, just not to make sites too boring, is just staying right here. As soon as you start hovering, I love the fact that they have this super cool newsletter effect. Maybe they reserved it for their newsletter specifically, which is also acceptable, but maybe having it in the beginning of the site would have given your site an appeal that nothing else would, because half the times when you're saving something super cool for very late in your website, it just gets to a point where the user is way too bored to notice these effects at all, or maybe it just breaks the monotony. So there are two sides to having a really cool effect and putting it at the end of the site. Maybe it breaks the monotony, maybe the user is way too bored to even continue to your site. Maybe add a couple of these to the beginning of the site, because this is the level of cursor hijacking and leaving behind images and just a super cool effect, which would have been nice to see, especially in the beginning of the site. Again, super cool newsletter section and just super cool section as a whole. We're getting to the comments in a little bit, and also this footer section just always does this really cool hover typewriter effect, which I am a fan of, always going to be a fan of. Again, very simple footer, nothing special happens with these, just they change the color when you hover over them, the links of the footer. Cool alignment, they've made sure to align it in the left, in the middle, and the center, and the right. It just left, center, right, and also just well made overall. One of the reasons this site is so well made is because they are, again, like our other sites today, embracing the trend of having huge font sizes, especially while you're designing something. I love the font that they're using here, especially when it gets to these locations where it just gets really, really thin, even though it shouldn't. Again, a lot of really, really cool white space, a lot of super cool effects, something I am always going to be a fan of. This was the site Control XYZ for you. This is our last site for today for this design review. I will be back in, I believe, another hour. Thank you so much everyone who's just watched today's stream. We reviewed 6 super duper cool sites. If you haven't checked them out yet, by the way, rewinding this video, go check them out. All of these are super duper amazing, super duper special sites I've ever seen today, so make sure to watch the whole thing, and I will see you in about an hour where we design a super duper cool UI slider which has so many animation and opacity effects that they'll just blow your mind completely. So do check it out, and I will see you in an hour. Until then, take care and be safe.